Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. This is the premier spot to talk about the Second Amendment, firearms policy as it relates to grassroots activism, politics, culture, movies, you name it, we're going to talk about it here. So do us a favor. Please like and share this video feed. Make sure that your friends become our friends. Whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, please make sure to like them on both, because the more people who are following us, the greater likelihood it is that we're going to be able to connect with other people and help get the word out. You guys know the social media networks, they're not real interested in making sure that our message gets out. In fact, they largely believe the exact opposite. So if you can help us out, you'd actually be helping, everybody who believes in the Second Amendment. So please make sure to get plugged in and help others get plugged into us. So getting into today's topic. Yesterday we talked a little bit about suicide and the myth that banning guns will reduce gun violence as it related to suicides. Well, people also happen to believe that when you ban guns, that it will also result in a reduction of violent crime in general. That all of a sudden, people who seek to do harm and damage to individuals, well, they'll just stop because, they won't have guns anymore. So therefore, the evil guns that are causing them to harm others will be removed, and thus so will the threat. But we're finding real quickly with our friends across the pond that may not in fact be the case. In fact, just recently we have discovered that London, that's right, the good old city of London, those cheeky bastards over there have surpassed New York City for the number of homicides last year. Check out the story.
How about this? This was a surprise to us. London's murder rate is now surpassing the murder rate in New York City. Our next guest says London's mayor should spend less time criticising Mr. Trump and more time fighting crime in London. Nigel Farage is with us, Fox News contributor. Nigel, as I understand it, this is a lot of stabbings. We have guns in New York, knives in London, and the knives win out. I don't mean to be facetious here, but what the devil's going on?
Well, I think we've got a breakdown of law and order in certain districts in London, and remarkably, this mayor of London has not visited a single one of the crime scenes. He has not met any of the bereaved families, and he's simply burying his head in the sand. Now, we had a policy a few years ago called Stop and Search, which meant that in the bad areas, the police could search people at will to see whether they were carrying knives, and if they were, they'd get strong sentences. The problem is that many of the areas in which this crime is happening are areas with very high immigration rates, and everyone's scared of the police and the authorities being called racist, so we've taken our foot off the pedal, and I would say that political correctness has directly led to the murder rate going up in London.
My, does that sound familiar? Let's see. Here in the state of California, because of the concerns over illegal immigration, or the fact that illegal immigrants may be unduly prosecuted or unduly, what's the word I'm looking for? Profiled. There you go. Unduly profiled. Plus, our prisons are full of people of color. So therefore, what we're going to do is we are now going to get rid of all of the laws that have been in place that have reduced crime in the state of California. We're going to take crimes that were felonies, and now we're going to reduce them to misdemeanors. And not only are we going to reduce them to misdemeanors, but we're now going to let those individuals out of prison. And then, lo and behold, we're shocked when the crime rate in the state of California goes up. We're shocked when the violent crime rate in the state of California goes up. I don't understand what is so shocking, what is so surprising about that. You let criminals out of jail, and then criminals commit crimes. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. if you don't arrest people if you don't go after people who you suspect of committing crimes, if you don't allow your law enforcement to go after them, then they are going to commit crimes. Now, in this case, this case is almost like a twofer, because we're not just talking about not just going after criminals, but keep in mind they have a very, very strict gun control policy there in the UK. So criminals, even if they don't have access to guns, well, guess what they're doing? They're using knives. They're taking knives now, and they're utilizing knives to commit crimes. And here's an example of the sort of crime that is running rampant in London and throughout the UK.
In London, knife crime is up 34% in a year, with more than 13,000 offences. You're about to watch just one. Early evening, Tottenham, North London, and the mopeds close in.
Just robbed him. Up to. He caught that driver's bike. That was in seconds. There was 4 men on bikes. They went onto the pavement. We saw them come here, and within seconds, they've taken this man's bike.
My bike and my phone.
Now, mind you, this isn't like, Fox News. That wasn't Fox News reporting that. That was the BBC. That was the left-wing BBC who was reporting on this. What they're noting is the fact that this crime is rampant. It happened right in front of them. As they're doing this report, it happened right in front of them. But see, that's what happens when you have a citizenry, when you have criminals who know that you have an unarmed citizenry. They know that they can just walk up to just about anybody. And chances are that individual is going to be unarmed and they're going to be able to do whatever it is that they want. So what's the response? The response by the mayor is, well, we need knife control. Okay, so what now happens? You've already got gun control, and that didn't stop violence. Now you're going to have knife control. And what happens when that doesn't stop violence? What happens when people start using bats? Are you then going to have bat control? Folks, what we're dealing with here, once again, it is not a gun problem. In this case, it's not a knife problem. It is a people problem. And when you go soft on criminals, when you allow criminals to walk your streets without being subject to penalties for their crimes, when in this case where we're talking about immigration, where you don't know who's coming and going into your country, right? When you have absolutely no idea who the individuals are who are coming into your country. And who knows, this may not necessarily have been something that is typical in London, but it may be typical wherever these folks may be from. Once again, I don't know if the perpetrators of these crimes happen to be immigrants. What I do know is that mostly these crimes are up in areas with high immigration numbers. And we all know, thanks to the European Union, that not all European countries have had control of their borders. So they don't necessarily in London know who's coming in or who's been coming in and out of their country during the time that they were in the EU. But once again, whether we're talking immigration, whether we're talking socioeconomics and poverty, whether we're just talking about a culture of violence, all of those things surround people. Every single one of those are people problems, not tool problems. They are not knife problems. They are not gun problems. Because we've already seen you got rid of the guns and now you have a knife problem. If you get rid of the knives, well, guess what you're going to have then? Anybody want to guess what you're going to have then? You guessed it. You're going to have a bat problem, or you're going to have a stick problem, or you're going to have a screwdriver problem. Whatever it is, you're going to have people. Violence has been around since the beginning of man. In fact, before man. The thing is, you're not going to get rid of it. The question you have to ask yourself is, how do we address it? And we don't address it by dealing with the tool. We address it by dealing with the people, the root cause of the problem. And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to go there. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you for liking and sharing these videos, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. We'll see you later.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.